Let's settle this once and for all. Calisthenics versus gym. Two camps, two religions, and both sides acting like the other one is basically just cosplay fitness. The gym bros say calisthenics guys are doing glorified playground workouts. The calisthenics crowd says gym guys are just machines walking between machines, collecting pumps and losing their souls one cable fly at a time. And somewhere in the middle, you're standing there just trying to figure out which one is actually going to get you results. You've probably watched 15 videos on this already, gotten 15 different answers, and ended up more confused than when you started. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to break this down properly, muscle by muscle, goal by goal. And by the end of this, you'll know exactly which one deserves your time, your money, and your sweat. What calisthenics actually is and isn't. First, let's kill a misconception before it kills this conversation. Calisthenics is not just push-ups and pull-ups in a park while a guy with a man bun films it for Instagram. At its core, calisthenics is any training that uses your own body weight as the primary resistance. That means everything from your most basic push-up all the way to a planche, a human flag, a one-arm pull-up, or a muscle-up. The range is enormous, and people wildly underestimate it. A beginner can start with zero equipment, zero cost, and zero gym anxiety. An advanced calisthenics athlete will be doing things in that same park that make fully grown gym veterans stop mid-set and stare with their mouth open. The defining feature is that you are the equipment. Your body moves through space, and the challenge comes from controlling that movement, manipulating leverage, and producing force without a machine telling you exactly where to push or pull. That is a completely different skill set from walking into a gym and loading a barbell. Neither is superior in isolation. They are different tools with different strengths, and tools work best when you actually understand what they were built for. So let's figure that out. What the gym actually gives you. The gym, meaning weights, barbells, dumbbells, cables, machines, is essentially a controlled hypertrophy machine. It was designed specifically to isolate, load, and progressively overload specific muscles with a level of precision that bodyweight training simply cannot match. You want to add 2.5 kilos to your bench press every single week for 6 months straight? You can do that. You want to target your rear deltoids specifically because they're lagging behind and making your shoulders look flat from the back? There's a cable variation for that. You want to hammer your hamstrings without piling load onto your lower back? The lying leg curl exists for exactly that reason. The gym strips away almost every unnecessary variable and lets you focus purely on mechanical tension, volume, and progressive load. And when it comes to building raw muscle mass, that specificity is a serious advantage. Progressive overload is the engine of muscle growth, and the gym makes it almost embarrassingly easy to apply it in tiny, measurable increments week after week. That is not a small thing. That is actually the biggest thing if size is what you're after. Round 1. Building muscle and size. Alright, let's get into it. If you want to get bigger, the gym wins. Not because calisthenics cannot build muscle, it absolutely can, but because the gym gives you tools that are almost perfectly calibrated for hypertrophy, and calisthenics makes you work around limitations that just don't exist with weights. You cannot add 5 kilos to a push-up. You have to change the movement entirely. Elevate your feet, add a weight vest, progress to a harder variation like an archer push-up or a pseudo planche push-up. That's still progressive overload in principle, but it's messier, harder to track, and harder to keep consistent. For beginners, calisthenics builds muscle just fine, because any resistance stimulus works when your body has never really been trained. But as you advance, the gym's ability to add precise load becomes a clear, undeniable edge. If you're chasing a bigger chest, thicker arms, broader shoulders, or more overall mass on your frame, you will get there faster, more efficiently, and more consistently with weights. Not because calisthenics is bad, but because the gym was literally engineered for that specific outcome. Round 2. Functional strength and movement quality. Now flip the script entirely and calisthenics dominates. Functional strength, the kind that actually transfers to sports, to real-world movement, to athletic performance, is where bodyweight training earns every bit of its reputation and then some. When you do a pull-up, you're not just training your back. You're training your grip, your shoulder stability, your core, your scapular control, and your proprioception all simultaneously. Your body is functioning as a single coordinated unit, not a series of isolated parts taking turns. That coordination is incredibly difficult to build in a gym where machines stabilize everything for you and guide you along a fixed plane of motion. Gym training, especially machine-based gym training, often does the exact opposite of building movement quality. It's great for loading muscle. It's not great for teaching your body how to coordinate real movement under real conditions. Athletes in combat sports, gymnastics, and parkour have known this for decades. A guy who can bang out 20 strict pull-ups and hold a solid front lever will often completely outmove, outreact, and outcontrol someone who bench presses twice their body weight, but has never done a single rotational movement or trained balance a day in their life. Calisthenics builds athletes. The gym builds muscles. Both outcomes are valuable, but they're not the same thing, and confusing them is how people end up with impressive-looking bodies that fall apart the moment someone asks them to do something athletic with them. Round 3. Accessibility and convenience. This one isn't particularly close. Calisthenics wins by a mile, and if you've ever tried to stay consistent with gym training while traveling, working irregular hours, or just living a normal, unpredictable life, you already know exactly why. No membership fee, no commute, no parking, no waiting for the squat rack while someone does quarter reps and checks themselves out between every single set. You can train in a park, in your bedroom, in a hotel room, in your garage, on a rooftop, on a patch of grass outside your apartment building. Your body is always with you, which means your gym is always with you. The gym costs money every month, requires you to physically travel to it, and comes with a social environment that genuinely puts some people off enough to go less often than they should. That last point matters more than most fitness content ever admits. The best workout program in the world is the one you actually show up for and actually execute. If the friction of going to the gym becomes a reason to skip, and for millions of people it does, at least sometimes, then calisthenics wins automatically, because it eliminates that friction almost entirely. Now, the gym does win on equipment variety, the ability to truly isolate specific muscle groups, and the capacity to load movements in ways that bodyweight training cannot replicate. Those are real advantages. But if your only option is your living room and a pull-up bar you bolted to a door frame, calisthenics is a complete, legitimate training system that has built elite athletes for centuries before gyms even existed. Round 4. Injury risk and joint health. Here's where the video gets a bit more nuanced, because neither system is inherently dangerous, but they come with very different risk profiles that most people gloss over. The gym's biggest enemy is ego, adding too much weight too quickly, training through pain because stopping feels like weakness, and accumulating serious joint stress from years of heavy barbell work done with questionable form. Knees, shoulders, and lower backs take a serious beating when people bench, squat, and deadlift with sloppy mechanics or weights they haven't earned yet. Done right, heavy lifting is fine. Done wrong, it absolutely wrecks you, and the damage often builds slowly until one day it all shows up at once. Calisthenics has its own injury risks, but they show up mostly at the advanced end. Basic movements, push-ups, pull-ups, dips, rows, lunges, are genuinely low risk for most people. But chasing advanced skills like the planche or the back lever puts significant stress on the wrists, elbows, and shoulders, and the culture around skill progression sometimes pushes people to chase the next level before their connective tissue is actually ready for it. For general everyday training, calisthenics tends to be more forgiving on the joints, particularly the spine, because you're simply not compressing it with hundreds of kilos. That's a real advantage for longevity. That said, both are safe when programmed with intelligence and patience. The injury conversation is less about which method is riskier and more about whether you actually know what you're doing, and whether your ego is bigger than your common sense. So which one should you actually do? Well, just ask yourself what you actually want from your training. If the goal is building a visually impressive physique, real mass, real definition, a body that looks the way you're picturing it, go to the gym. Build your program around compound lifts: squat, deadlift, bench, row, overhead press. Progressive overload applied consistently over time. The gym will get you there faster, with more precision, and with more room to grow than bodyweight training alone will give you. If the goal is becoming a more capable, more athletic, more functional human being, someone who moves well, has genuine body control, and can do things that look impressive because they actually are impressive, lean hard into calisthenics. Pull-ups, dips, push-up variations, body weight rows, and eventually skill work like the muscle-up will build a physique and a performance level that the gym alone rarely delivers. And if you want both, because you're not a monk who's taken a vow to honor only one training method, Then combine them. Use the barbell and the dumbbells to build mass, load patterns, and hit specific weak points. Use body weight work to develop control, stability, movement quality, and skills that remind you training is supposed to be something you can actually do, not just something that makes you look like you can. Plenty of elite athletes, gymnasts, coaches, and serious training people have been doing this for decades. At the end of the day, your muscles don't care if the resistance comes from a 20-kilo plate or the relentless pull of gravity. They only care that you showed up to do the work. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.